But before we get to this massive war between Zeus and Kronos, the new generation of gods and the old generation of gods, there's a long digression that's built in. Hesiod talks to us about the arrival of human beings. All of a sudden, they're just there in the story. Now, some of us, as we read this, are thinking to ourselves, where did the human beings come from? There's no drum roll, there's no clash of cymbals, there's no rhetorical flourish to say, ta-da, here comes the human beings. They're just there. And in Hesiod's story, they're just kind of there pretty much in order to worship the gods. We meet them in the context of sacrifice and the worship of the gods. I think we can draw from this a couple of different conclusions. For Hesiod, it's definitely not a big deal that humans should arrive on the scene. The gods is the story he's telling now. And then also, the point of human beings and their relationship with the rest of the cosmos is in order to keep things functioning. They give the gods what the gods want through sacrifice. The story of human beings emerges out of this figure Prometheus, and it happens at a place called Mycenae. We learn about Prometheus via a digression on genealogy connected to, everything's connected to genealogy in Hesiod, a genealogy connected to a titan named Iapetos. Iapetos has offspring, Prometheus is one of them, and Prometheus gets involved in a mischievous way in a sacrificial ritual that human beings, who just happen to already be around, are giving in honor of the gods. Zeus is there, and he gets to witness the sacrifice being made, and Prometheus makes two piles of the animal sacrifice. One of them is just the bones of the animal, covered with fat to make them look attractive, and the other is a heap of the choicest meats that he covers over with fur to try to hide that. He then gives Zeus the opportunity and says, Zeus, choose which one you like. The one that's showy and glistening with fat is the one that Zeus goes for. In Hesiod's version of the tale, Zeus is not deceived. He knows what's happening, but he's going to go ahead and do this so that he can punish Prometheus later. He takes the bones and goes ahead and gobbles them up, leaving the choicest piece of meats for the human beings to eat. Some people, when they read this, say to themselves, well, this is a very strange sounding ritual. Why should this be happening? A very strange sounding thing to need an explanation. Well, it just so happens that what we're seeing here is the typical way that Greek sacrifice is executed. When the Greeks do sacrifice, they'll kill the animal ritually, they'll take its bones, wrap them in glistening fat, and they'll send those up, burn them up in a fire, and send them up to the gods. The gods presumably like that smoke. That's the part they like. This is the kind of story that we hear from Homer. Hesiod gives us a further story saying this whole thing emerged out of an original deception. The gods were actually, Hesiod says, Prometheus was trying to trick them. Zeus wasn't really tricked. Prometheus was trying to trick them. Zeus went along with it. And he now takes the bad parts of the sacrifice, leaving all the best parts for the human being. It seems like what we have here is an example of humans who were engaged in sacrifice, did this as a normal ritual activity, and at some point asked themselves, my gosh, we just give the bones to the gods and keep all the good meat for ourselves. Is that okay? There's a kind of residual guilt built into this explanation, isn't there? As if the human beings needed an explanation why it was okay to give just the bones to the gods and keep the meat for themselves. I think what Hesiod has done is given us a reasoning behind that. He's using myth to explain a ritual practice whose logic is a little hard to understand. Giving us that background, we get to blame it all on Prometheus, and then you and I as humans, when we carry forward our sacrificial rituals, keep the best parts for ourselves and give the bones to Zeus, we're just doing what's been set up since time immemorial, back to that original deception of Prometheus. Zeus is highly angered and he decides to punish Prometheus. First, he's going to punish the human beings by stealing fire back from them. Presumably they had fire because they were engaged in sacrificial rituals, so they had to have something to be able to burn up the sacrifices to the gods. Zeus takes it back from them and keeps it from them. Prometheus now, carrying forward with his mischief, worms his way back up to Zeus's lair and steals the fire again in a fennel stalk and gives it to the human beings so they can have it again. Zeus is irate and decides to punish Prometheus through eternity. He has now an eagle, Zeus's own bird, who goes down and eats out Prometheus's liver. That liver then grows back such that the bird can come back and eat it out again. Prometheus constantly is being tortured for all eternity by having his liver eaten out by a live bird and then have it grow back. He's one of those famous sinners that we see who does something so awful that he gets punished throughout all eternity. Not that many of those in antiquity. Prometheus is in a very small group. We met a couple of them in the underworld in Homer's Odyssey. Now, as our story carries on, there's more punishment. Zeus is not done with his punishment when it comes to this episode at Mykone and this attempted deception by Prometheus. He now needs to punish human beings. So what he does is create an affliction against humankind, as Hesiod puts it. It's the whole race of women. Female gendered human beings are brought against males as a punishment in Hesiod's telling. Strongly misogynistic character of this story reveals a strong gender affiliation of Hesiod. He sides with men, clearly, and talking about condemning the whole race of women by connecting them genealogically with men only insofar as they're brought down as a punishment for all the nasty stuff that happened at Mykone, reveals Hesiod's view of women. Sadly, many of our poets don't have quite rich and very well thought out views on these gender relations. Hesiod's very strong and upsetting opinion right there at the core of the Theogony is one that those who are interested in gender and antiquity surely need to take a good, strong, hard look at. Now, after this episode at Mykone, this digression in which we learn about human beings, we learn about them as being involved with the divinities in a ritual context, we're going to turn from here back to Zeus, and we're going to hear about this story of how Zeus goes ahead and conquers the earlier generation of Titans.